Welcome back. Our final discussion for a Saturday edition here on Breakfast Extra. April 2nd was World Autism Awareness Day. And this year's theme is about advancing neurodiversity and breaking the stereotypes that have for so long shaped how we perceive autism. Now, Autism Spectrum Disorder, ASD, is not an illness or a tragedy. It's a different way of experiencing the world. But for many individuals on the spectrum and their families, the journey is still marked by stigma, misunderstanding, and also lack of access to the right resources.
And so this morning, we're taking time to celebrate autistic voices, amplify the stories of advocacy, and understand how early intervention and inclusive education can make a world of difference. And so joining us to do that is first a parent and the founder of Haven Autism, and that is Esther Sule-Okeugo. She's a proud mother of a brilliant 16-year-old boy, who's on the autism spectrum, is nonverbal, by the way, but also he is an advocate who advocates through his art, and that is Zizah Okeugo. We're also being joined here in the studio by Helen Oshikoya. She's an early intervention specialist and international behavior consultant who has spent over a decade working across Africa and the diaspora to build responsive, evidence-based support for systems for children on this spectrum. So altogether, I must say thank you so much for joining us, because we're going to be unpacking what is it about, neurodiversity and so much more. So, Miss Esther and also Helen, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Zizah. Judith, do you want to start?
I'm very excited. Let me first of all say hello to Zizah. I've seen all of your art. We're going to play it on here. I know this. All of his art and everything else, he's an art advocate, but also
he says thank you.
Thank you. And also to Mommy as well. You have been an active voice in the autism advocacy space for years now. So tell us about your journey, what inspired Haven for Autism, and how has your personal experience as a parent shaped your mission?
So Zizah got diagnosed when he was 4. As you know, it's a difficult process from getting a diagnosis. From one, we noticed that there was something different about him to getting a diagnosis, navigating the healthcare system. A lot of medical personnel didn't even understand what we were talking about. They just felt like I was just a parent that was just unnecessarily worried. But we didn't relent in our efforts. We needed answers, and in seeking those answers, we had a lot of difficulties and all that. So he got diagnosed, like I said, at 4, and then with that just came a lot of things. We just knew that we had to have early intervention, which we were told would determine whether you had positive outcomes or not. And even in trying to get him diagnosed and just seeking to understand what it was, because 16 years ago, I'd never heard of autism. It's not like today. Nobody just knew anything about autism, So I got a lot of pushback from people. I don't know, culturally here, it's like we have an aversion to mental health issues or something. And then you rightly mentioned the stigma surrounding autism as well. So nobody wanted to talk about it. And I just realized that as a parent, it was my duty to advocate for my child. And I just realized that we needed to get to a point where we were comfortable enough to talk about it, So early as I think 2 years or so, we noticed that Zizah had a flair for art. He's obviously nonverbal, so his way of expressing himself was through art. And we quickly realized that he had a sort of like an eidetic memory, which means he was just able to see things and just, soak it up and then bring it, draw it or whatever, and just get it right. So it was like he was just taking pictures in his brain or something. And then, the idea just came to us, why not use the arts to, start these conversations, because it's something that people are uncomfortable with. They don't want to talk about it. You talk about autism and nobody's really interested, but people would notice if it was something interesting, for instance. So I thought, yeah, he's good with art. We started to use his Instagram page at Eidetic Boy and posting pictures. And then, you know, we started having conversations. People were just engaging and they were like, oh, wow, you know, this is these drawings are done by someone with autism. So it's not totally a lost cause, you know, with the right resources, you know, with the right intervention, they're actually able to have some fulfilling lives and live independently as well. And, you know, even for some have finished school, have been able to get an education. Some, maybe like Zizah, not necessarily an education, but grow, you know, in terms of his art. He's able to also play music by ear. So he's self-taught. He just put him in front of a piano. He just listens to a song or something. He's able to figure out the keys and just play. Same thing with art as well. But we were able to get him some support to get him to where he is now, where we're also having yearly exhibitions and all for autism awareness, because we wanted to get to a place where like people notice, so that we're promoting you know, awareness, understanding of our cause, and also educating people as well. And interestingly, it's not just for the public out there. I mean, in my journey, I came to realize that even parents who have children on the spectrum haven't come to a place of acceptance. So we just knew that we needed to amplify our voices, let our experiences be shared, let our stories be told. And I think we're doing a good job for the most part. If you are in the autism space, you would notice that almost all the activities, we're having autism walks. This is April, so a lot of things are going on in Nigeria right now.
Esther, just a second, Esther. I hope you can hear us. I'm trying to get your attention, Esther. So, you are indeed doing a great work, but I'd like to also talk to Helen, who's with us here in the studio. But I just wanted to confirm, you did say that he draws from memory and plays by ear, yes?
Yes.
Fantastic, that's beautiful. Helen, you're here with us in the studio. I want to ask you what role early intervention could have played in Zizah's case and could play in other people's experience. Early intervention, and then we touch on stigma after. But first off, early intervention, how does that help?
The thing about it is that everybody says early intervention is the key, but they actually don't know what the key is. So that key is preventive. So every child that ends up having autism, it all starts off as a delay. You know, a child is not born with autism. It is progressively a delay that has kind of escalated to where it is now. So early intervention is actually screening your children, screening them to make sure that they don't have symptoms of autism.
But at what age?
You can actually start screening for autism at 12 months.
12 months.
12 to 18 months.
About a year old.
Yes, 12 to 18 months, because that's the time you start seeing the signs. But a lot of parents don't see the signs, they only see the effect. So they say, my child isn't talking, my child isn't socializing, my child isn't. Those are the pervasive parts of what those early symptoms really are. So early intervention is basically screening your children, screening particularly for autism.
And is that the key?
That's the key.
That's the key.
So that intervention can take place at that immediate point and not when the autism has actually become apparent.
So you're saying it's progressive autism?
Yes, it is. It evolves.
It evolves.
It evolves. So it goes from a delay, continues and continues until it gets to where it is.
There are parents that, one of the things I was reading a report, and many parents are continually complaining that their children are now experiencing speech delay in children. Is that also somewhat of leaning to autism, or that's a completely different conversation entirely?
The truth is that there's so many things that that are part of what autism is. So basically, at the point in time when the child is not talking, that is where you start getting worried. Talking doesn't mean he's going to have autism, but talking is a red flag towards possibility of having autism.
Gotcha.
I spoke about stigma from earlier. A stigma is very unique in these cases because it doesn't just come from outside, it's also from inside out. And I'll explain. People might see families who are dealing with this as, okay, we don't want to talk about it. We just go around it each time we are experiencing meeting someone with that situation. And then from the inside out, people don't want to expose family members sometimes who have autism because I don't know why. So how can families deal with these stigmas, whether inward out or outward in?
So the first thing is acceptance. So you need to accept that your child is different, and you can only be the advocate for your own child. She can't advocate for my child because she cannot love my child more than I love my child.
Oh, you'll be very surprised.
So, so the point really is that if you accept there's something wrong, then you're able to educate people around you to let them know something is wrong, but I need you to help me to find out what is wrong and how I can deal with it. So the stigmatization is really as a result of what we as individuals want, and as far as we are ready to go to make sure that other people accept us.
Right. Let me come to you, Esther, and talk about inclusion, all right? Inclusivity, as we discuss, autism and just the awareness of it, and neurodiversity. Zizah is 16 years old, and sooner or later, as time passes, he grows older and will become an adult. And being nonverbal, is that a concern for you, inclusion and, integrating into society, having friends, marriage, the future, the societal norms that is expected of a young man? How do you play it, and how do you advocate for inclusion for his case?
Most definitely. That's a parent's worst fear. With me, because I've watched him. I know that there's certain limitations, and there's so much that we can do. Right now, we're on, initially we're focused on maybe wanting to get him to be like anybody else. That is, complete his academics and then maybe find a job or something. Over time, I've come to realize that we're not going to do that. So now our focus is getting him to be able to live independently. And again, back to advocacy, you're talking about inclusion. You can't have inclusion in a society where people don't understand, where they are not educated about what it is. And, if people just buying into creating, initiatives or something where autistic individuals are included. For now, for instance, as he has his strengths, which is art and music, one of the worries is how do we get him into society to function as an individual who's artistic, who has a musical talent? Are there places that would, for instance, in Nigeria now, employ somebody like him? It's a bit difficult, really. I don't think there's an answer. The thing is, that is why we do what we do. I continue to just educate and say, he may be non-verbal, for instance, but he has skills and he should be able to function. In this day and age, especially since COVID, people working remotely and so there are autistic individuals who are good with a computer, they are good with IT, they may not necessarily speak, but they have skills in that area. Zizah can have exhibitions, sell his paintings, and not be limited by the fact that he has autism, So right. The more we engage people, the more we educate, I think it fosters for a society where there's inclusion, where there are resources, where we're able to integrate them into society and get them to also live a functional life and also make their own contributions to society as a whole.
Just a second for the sake of time.
It is a worry.
Let's quickly just bring this. Let's bring this to fore as we're talking about discrimination and stigmatization and inclusion. In January of 2019, the then President Muhammadu Buhari, he enacted and signed into law the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act, which is to criminalize discrimination based on disability and establishing a national commission for persons with disability to promote inclusivity and well-being. Does your how far has this enactment gone in sort of inclusion? Have they done well? And how can CSOs like yourself for organizations like yourself and also Ms. Oshikoya, just, collaborate to better bring to fore the issues that, autistic children face, especially those on the spectrum, whether nonverbal or alike, to sort of push forward inclusion and eradicate discrimination and stigma? Very quickly, because we're pressed for time.
I think we're for the most part, I think, like I said, parents, professionals like Ms. Helen have been collaborating for a while. I'm glad that you mentioned that, the president has put something in place. I think the issues that we have majorly are whether they are being implemented. So there are policies on paper, there are documents that are written, but do we have implementation? That is the actual problem. And I think that we need to come together as a whole. I'm talking about the autism space now, non-governmental organizations, parents, advocates, people living with autism. We need to come together and push for better policies. It's not just having policies, but actually putting them in practice. For instance, we're talking about discrimination and, of people living with autism. How many schools actually are able to include people with autism? They just don't have the resources, and they're just not able to.
cut you short,
so I think that, yes, I think we need to revisit this issue and have proper conversations, to be honest.
All right, then, Esther.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Ms. Helen, you have the floor, very quickly.
I think the challenge is that the truth is that a lot of collaboration is based on individual interest. So basically, if I feel I want to do something in my space, I don't need to invite you into this space. And we've been trying to collaborate with so many things, so many ventures and organizations. But you see, the point is that if the government themselves don't enforce the policies that they bring out, it's going to be difficult for people to collaborate. So I might feel to myself that I don't want X happening in schools, but you are benefiting from that X being in school. So it's the government that's supposed to sit down and say, all stakeholders, we don't want anymore, and then I don't have a choice. I have to either do it, or the person doing it has to stop.
Alignment.
It's alignment. And the only thing, as I said, in a family, it's the head. So if the government doesn't come in and make sure these stakeholders do what they're supposed to do and enforce it, we're still going to be, 16 years are going on. Autism, it didn't come yesterday, but we're still where we are.
Yeah, that is true.
Yes.
I must say thank you. Thank you so much, Helen Oshikoya, just for taking our time and being here. Appreciate you.
Very much.
And also to Zizah Okeugo for joining us as well.
Thank you very much, Zizah. We
Thank you,
appreciate that you supported Mommy through all of this. And we love your art, Zizah. That was a beautiful horse we saw you drawing there. Now I'm going to go follow you. Please, Mommy, what's his handle again?
It's at Eidetic Boy. That's EIDETIC Boy on Instagram.
I'm definitely following after this.